Right folks, let's talk about Peter Rachman, a name that's become pure shorthand for greed, exploitation and everything that's rotten in the housing game. Rachman was a Polish immigrant who made a fortune in the slums of Notting Hill in the late 50s and early 60s. His name's even in the dictionary now, Rachmanism, meaning bully boy tactics and squeezing tenants for every penny they had. Now, London after the war was in a right mess. The Blitz had flattened great chunks of the place. Notting Hill, North Kensington, places that once had lovely big Victorian houses, had turned into absolute dumps. There was nowhere near enough housing, and the Tories' 1957 Rent Act, which was meant to free up the market, just made it easier for chancers like Rachman to pile in and start ripping folk off. It wasn't just the housing shortage that fueled it either. Ye had waves of immigrants, especially folk from the West Indies, coming over to find work and a better life. And what did they find? No blacks, no Irish, no dogs, stuck up on doors everywhere. They were frozen out of the decent housing market altogether. And guess who was there with open arms and open palms, charging eye-watering rents for rat-infested wee rooms? Aye, Rachman, and don't think he only targeted the black tenants. Nah, if you were poor and white and had a rent-controlled tenancy, you were a target too. He bought up places with protected tenants, then made life hell, neglecting repairs, cutting the heating, maybe even a bit of intimidation here and there. Anything to drive folk out so he could slap a higher rent on the place. He stirred up racial tensions too, deliberately, to keep tenants fighting each other instead of him. Vile stuff. But it wasn't just property. Rachman had a toe in London's seedy underworld as well. You maybe heard his name crop up during the Profumo affair, that scandal with politicians, showgirls, spies. Christine Keeler, Mandy Rice Davies, they lived in flats linked to Rachman. He wasn't at the heart of it, but his world and the establishment's world were a lot closer than folk like to admit. And then there was Michael de Freitas, later known as Michael X, who worked for Rachman as a heavy, collecting rents, leaning on folk to move out. He reinvented himself later as a Black Power activist, but during the Rachman years he was very much part of the machinery of fear that kept tenants in line. Rachman's story ended sudden-like. He dropped dead of a heart attack in 1962, only 43 years old. Some said it was suspicious, but nothing was ever proved. He was gone before he could face proper scrutiny, but not before the MPs and campaigners like Ben Parkin dragged what he'd done into the light. The outrage helped push through the Rent Act of 1965, tightening up tenant protections. But let's be honest, a lot of damage had already been done. When they counted up his money after he died, Rachman's estate was worth over £500,000, which would be tens of millions now. Every penny wrung out of working folk desperate for a roof over their heads. And even now, you can still see his shadow. Damp flats, revenge evictions, sky-high rents. The names might have changed, but the game's still recognisable. Notting Hill today looks nothing like it did. Now it's all organic coffee shops, fancy boutiques and houses going for millions. Folk who lived there through the hard times. The descendants of those Rachman exploited, they've been priced right out. Same streets, same buildings, but a whole different kind of exclusion.